Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in today's video I'm doing my predictions for NXT No Mercy 2025. So starting off with the NXT Speed, or WWE Speed. I've been calling it NXT Speed because it's on NXT now. The Women's Championship, where Sol Rucker will be defending against Lainey Reed. And yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Lainey Reed to get the win on this one, basically due to lots of shenanigans. Pretty much, I've got a feeling that though keeping the title on Sol Rucker would be a very good idea, and she fits the gimmick of Speed very, very well. It feels like they want to put a bigger concentration on the North American Championship and kind of making Sol Rucker into a bigger star, and doing that kind of means not having the Speed Championship because that's seen as a very much lower championship, or at least that's the assumption I would make. And also with it being new to NXT, they might want to make a new champion to then kind of restart everything, if that makes sense, and then giving it to Lainey Reed, you can start again, go for different challenges and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like nothing against Sol. I feel like, you know, Sol, I feel like once we get rid of this kind of surfer gimmick, or at least like make the theme not so surfer gimmick, she is main roster bound, in my opinion. I feel like she can't be far off a main roster call up because she's just so good, and I feel like she's not being wasted in NXT. But like with two championships a bit harder, I feel like they should be putting a bigger emphasis on the North American Championship. But so now she has to defend both because, you know, she's a defending champion. So yeah, I feel like maybe they do the whole switch with Fatal Influence. If they have maybe Fallon Henley and JC Jane, or just Fallon Henley, come down to the ring and help Lainey Reed, and that brings her into the group, replacing obviously the leaving Jasmine Nix. That would make a lot of sense to me, and also it means that Sol Rucker doesn't look as hurt by a loss. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Lainey Reed to get the win, but it's more a case of getting the Speed title off Sol Rucker as it is putting it on Lainey Reed. Following that, we have Josh Briggs taking on Javon Evans, and my initial thought was to give Josh Briggs the win here, but then thinking back a few weeks ago, he does have a pinfall win over Javon Evans already on NXT television, so I feel like Javon Evans is going to get the win here. They're going to make it 1-1, and then they'll maybe have a rubber match on just a random NXT, and that'll build in quite nicely to getting an NXT championship match. I assume that, you know, whichever man is champion, and we'll get to that in a bit, it's not going to be a straight title shot. I feel like there's going to be a few more hurdles, maybe a couple more feuds for them both before getting back to the title scene. But personally, I would like to see Josh get the championship match first, so maybe Josh wins the rubber match on NXT, and then Javon Evans has to continue his build up towards the end of the year and into the start of next year to then get to the NXT championship, come and stand and deliver. I'm thoroughly convinced that that's when he's going to win the championship, so that's kind of where my thinking's going to be surrounding Javon Evans for a while. But I feel like it's mostly really good. They had a decent match on NXT a few weeks ago, like I said. So for me, I'm going to go with Javon Evans to get the win to kind of even it up at 1-1 for this part of the feud. They probably faced each other before, and they've had wins and losses there. But just for this part of the stretch, I think it'll go into this going 1-1, and then they'll have another match for the rubber match, and maybe to decide who's going to be the contender for the NXT Championship. But yeah, I'm going to go with Javon to get the win here. Following that, we have Ethan Page defending the North American Championship against Tavion Heights. And as good as the match is going to be, I like the fact they had like a small impromptu match where Tavion Heights tapped out Ethan Page. God, that was a mouthful. But for me, Ethan Page is getting the win here. I can't see him losing the North American Championship anytime soon, especially as he has a technical loss over Tavion Heights this week. It means Tavion Heights has the momentum going in, which usually means that the champion will get the win at the weekend. And yeah, I feel like they're going to follow that philosophy to a T here. Do I think the match is really good? Yes, because Ethan Page is in it. Pretty much. No, Tavion Heights is really good. He was the standout wrestler, I thought, when he was tagging with Miles Bourne. So yeah, I'm very glad that he's getting a singles run now. But do I think he's going to win the North American title? Not quite yet. I feel like it is going to probably come to him at some point. But I don't think he's going to beat Ethan Page for it. I feel like the build will be a lot better for an Ethan Page loss, even though an Ethan Page loss will probably mean he's coming up to the main roster, which would be awesome. But yeah, I feel like he's going to continue his reign here, and yeah, I'm curious to see who he's got next. After that, we have a weaponized steel cage match between Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Do love the more extreme matches. Do I think there'll be blood? Probably not, even though Blake is very good when it comes to bleeding, and she doesn't overdo it, but she doesn't hold back either. It's all very well done, obviously, knowing from AEW. Who I think is going to win this one? It has to be Blake Monroe, surely. Like, I feel like this has to be a feud ender. I can't think of where else they could go as far as bigger matches than a weaponized steel cage match. Obviously, there are stipulations that can go, but it does feel like this is a feud ender. As far as Jordynne Grace being called up, I really don't know at this point. Like, it was my reason why Blake would win the first match, expecting that to be kind of it for those two, but clearly that isn't the case. So I don't think Jordynne Grace is gonna get called up after this. Actually, maybe she goes after the women's championship. I'm not sure. Maybe Blake Monroe goes for the women's championship. I feel like that'd be maybe a little bit too early. But yeah, no, I feel like it's gonna be a great match. I'm looking forward to it a lot. But I cannot help but think I can't help but think that Blake Monroe is going to get the win here. It just makes the most sense. She needs to build up wins to then get to the NXT Women's Championship, whereas Jordynne Grace is kind of in a good position where she can put people over but not be hurt by that, which is very handy to have in anybody on the roster. So yeah, I feel like a loss here isn't going to hurt Jordynne at all. She's going to look strong either way because I feel like it's going to be very extreme. So yeah, I feel like both are going to come out of this looking great, but I have got Blake Monroe to get the win. After that, we have Jacy Jayne defending the NXT Women's Championship against Lola Vice, and it has to be Lola, right? I have all my chips on Lola Vice getting a win here. Nothing against Jacy Jayne. She has been a brilliant champion, a lot better than I first expected, like anyone first expected. I think we're all guilty of saying that she was going to be a transitional champion. She was going to be, a one-off champion, one just to pass it on to the next person. And she's been a very good champion. She was very unfortunate to lose the Knockout Championship to Ashley Elegance at Heatwave. But I feel like this is the end for Jacy Jayne here. Lola Vice has been on a hell of a run this year. She's had, I'd probably say, one of the best women's runs this year, other than Jacy Jayne and maybe Sol Rucker as well. But you've got to pull the trigger on her at some point. She can take the title to AAA. She can defend it in many different places. But different places, I mean like AAA and Worlds Collide. It just makes the most sense to put the title on her right now. She's incredibly marketable. She's such a popular babyface as well. It just makes the utmost sense to put the title on her right now and then have her have a little bit of a run. I can't imagine it'll be too long because Blake Monroe is probably going to follow up her as champion, and they're going to want to put the title on Blake Monroe, I would probably say fairly quickly. So yeah, I feel like Lola will just have a small, decent run, have a good showing, maybe take it abroad to, take it to AAA and maybe a Worlds Collide, and then we'll swiftly move on to Blake Monroe. But no, I feel like this match is going to be really good as well. Jacy Jayne's been putting on very good matches against multiple women throughout this year, and Lola Vice is fantastic in ring as well, so I can't imagine this is going to be very bad. So yeah, I look forward to this either way. But yeah, I'm going to go with Lola Vice to get the win here, as it feels like they're going to have to pull the trigger on her at some point, and this is probably the best time to do it. And finally, what I assume will be the main event, we have Obafemi defending the NXT Championship against Ricky Saints. And this is a very, very tough one, as it makes the most sense to finally put the championship on Ricky Saints. He's, again, just like Lola Vice, he can be marketed really well as a world champion. And it makes a lot of sense. He's kind of had the good build to get to this point. But at the same time, it's Obafemi. He's a sick champion. And I feel like he kind of encapsulates kind of what is so great about NXT, about how he hasn't come through the indies and kind of he's such a dominant champion as well. It just makes the most sense to keep the title on him as well. So it's really, really difficult in my opinion. But then is there time for Ricky Saints to lose here, build himself back up again, and then maybe get a shot later on? I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest with you. It makes a lot of sense to kind of have him go up to the main roster and do it without winning the NXT Championship, which I know for some people would not be the greatest thing to do. But yeah, I can't help but feel like that's probably what they're going to do. Like, it doesn't feel like Ricky Saints is kind of the I don't know. It doesn't feel like Ricky Saints has been built as the guy to beat Obafemi. They haven't had a lot of interactions. I know that the NXT Championship versus TNA Championship match very much did not help this feud at all, but I understand why they've done it with the whole invasion thing, which I will get to in the outro part. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Obafemi to retain here because it just makes more sense to keep the title on Oba than it just to give it Ricky Saints right now. Whether they have a match later on in the year and maybe Ricky gets it then, I'm not sure. Maybe Ricky wins the Iron Survivor Challenge and gets his title shot at New Year's Evil. But yeah, for me, I can't see Oba losing the title anytime soon, though it wouldn't shock me either if Ricky Saints did win and did get the championship. But I feel like whoever loses here should probably be looking more at the main roster than sticking around in NXT. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how this goes, but I'm going to go with Obafemi to retain here.